It's June, so that means it's Pride Month. So the already ubiquitous LGBTQ propaganda has reached an even more fevered pitch. The question is this messaging appropriate for public consumption? Does it break advertising standards? And are some of these messages being deliberately targeted towards children? And going against the wishes of their parents. Now, I'm going to draw your attention to these billboards. I took this video last week, Wednesday, the 5th of June, around 3:30 in the afternoon. And you can see that they are flashing up some rather striking messages. Now, every sort of 15 to 20 seconds, right? So this is high repetition communication across these digital billboards. They were flashing up words like pansexual, which the Cambridge Dictionary defines as sexually or romantically attracted to people of any gender. I suppose this is the upgrade of bisexual, given that we now have an infinite number of genders. Also, this was on the screen. Cisgender, a relatively new term. If you're not familiar with it, it's used to describe a person whose sense of personal identity and gender corresponds to his or her sex at birth. And then this classic, just gay. It means homosexual, and this was going on a constant basis. Like there was a constant stream of these messages popping up. I was really quite taken aback by it, to be honest with you, because this is hypersexualized. It's in your face. There's no nuance whatsoever, and I don't feel like it's appropriate or necessary for these things to be being pushed out like this in public. You know, which is bad enough. But then, about 3 hours later, I was walking back past the same billboards, and we should be able to see this video playing. And what it's going to show you, I won't play the whole thing, is what it will show you is that those ads, the ads saying gay, pansexual, cisgender, they aren't on the screens 3 hours later. And it struck me that what could be happening here is that someone has decided to deliberately target children or young people on the way home from school. If you think about who's on the road at 3:30 in the afternoon, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, it's kids, right? Whereas at 6:30 rush hour, that's when the parents are going home from work generally, right? So that seemed to me that was a deliberate attempt to target those hypersexualized messages at children, potentially young children, right? So we don't know who's going to be looking at this stuff. Really, really important. So I wanted to understand who's the organization behind this, what exactly is going on here. And I came across this website. So the organization is called socialart.work, and their URL, their web address, is very prominently placed on those adverts. You probably couldn't see it that well because they were I was a bit back from the ad, but it was very clear who it was coming from. It was this organization, socialart.work. You can see another example of the campaign on their screen. It's run by this fella. A lovely bit of one eye shenanigans going on there. His name is Martin Firrell, and he's a British public artist long associated with the international out-of-home industry. So that's the billboard industry, right? And these organizations that run the billboards are huge international companies. He does a lot of work with them, apparently. And he says that his works challenge unjust power systems of all kinds, including patriarchal power, the oppression of women and non-heterosexuals, and the heteronormative status quo. Okay, so you get a sense of what Mr. Ferrell's about. And this campaign was called All Varieties. It's a nationwide public artwork celebrating the labels that help people express their individuality and define their place in the world. He's got a quote from Stephen Fry. All varieties is a wonderful thing when the tide of justice around the world is moving out, leaving our beach of fellowship, love, and solidarity all the more bare. Typical Stephen Fry quote. Sounds like they're recruiting, actually, when I read that. Really quite odd, actually, when you dig into what's going on here. So a bit more about Mr. Farrell's ideological background. So he's a big socialist, apparently. Socialism is a moral idea. This is another campaign that he's done. Also this one, which I came across in Hackney in 2018, 2019. I remember seeing All Men Are Dangerous. And I remember saying to my friend, why is someone telling me and everyone else that all men are dangerous? It feels like, well, first of all, it's not true. But then also, is this a deliberate attempt to divide us up? Could be. Yeah. So that was first put out in 2006, but it's certainly been run recently. As I said, I mentioned seeing it myself back in around 2019. It was certainly pre-pandemic. So highly politicized, highly sexualized. Who's behind it? Well, let's have a little look at the funders and the backers. So there's an organization called Northern. Can't find anything out about Northern. I don't know who they are, but they're very prominently placed there in the top left-hand corner. Also, Berry Brothers and Rudd, who, if you're not familiar with, they are a very, very posh and expensive wine shop in Mayfair, right? So they're in the mix here, as well as basically the entire out-of-home media industry. So this is remarkable. You've got JC Decaux, you've got Clear Channel, you've got a Light Media. You know, this is basically all of outdoor advertising across the whole of the UK. All of the billboards, all of the bus stop ads, absolutely everything are aligned behind this campaign. And the organisation that operated the billboards that I saw was this one, a Light Media. They describe themselves as positively different out of home, inclusive out of home, built on positive connections. Quite sure what that means, but anyway, they run ads, and I got in touch with them and I downloaded some of their information, and it turns out that it is actually possible through their digital planning platform to what they call offer optimized campaigns based on multiple goal types, including day parts. So you can actually select in their system specific time slots based on who you want your messages to be seen by. So actually my assumption or my interpretation of what I saw, I think is borne out by the facts. The capability certainly exists to target younger people and to keep messaging away from their parents who are going to be traveling through the same area at a different time. Next organization was this one, that I think is an interesting one to look at, Queer Britain. And the campaign describes Queer Britain as its museum partner. And Queer Britain is the UK's first and only LGBTQ plus museum. They're based on Granary Square in St Pancras, just behind St Pancras, where the big Google European headquarters, the Facebook European headquarters, the Guardian newspaper, Central St Martin's, a whole bunch of cultural and media and technology institutions are based there. That's where the Queer Britain Museum is based. They've got a load of corporate backing, so from big international drinks companies, Agio to Levi's to M&C Saatchi, the advertising agency, as well as EY, who seem to crop up everywhere I go at the moment. Universal Music Group, Sony Music Group, Fitch Group, who do ratings for the financial markets. They've got a huge network of patrons and partners, including Elizabeth Bingham, OBE, who's a top EY partner, Dr. Anne Lim, CBE, who was the former chair of the Scouts. I think it tells you what you need to know about the Scouts. Plus links with, a whole range of other big cultural institutions, from the Tate to the V&A and a whole bunch of other people, right? So we've got, as I said at the start, hypersexualized messaging, apparently being targeted towards young people and children, coming from an organization that is backed to the hilt by cultural stars like Stephen Fry, the British establishment, big international corporations, and I really just don't understand how or why this stuff is going on. So I got in touch with them. I sent them an email on Wednesday, basically to ask for a bunch of information, but specifically relating to the question, do you view younger people as your target audience for all varieties? And does this have any bearing on the timing of the advertising, like when you're putting this stuff out? Haven't received a response back yet. I think it's probably unlikely that I will. I am going to get in touch with the Advertising Standards Agency, because I actually do think that this is a violation of a part of the code which relates to causing physical, mental or moral detriment to persons under the age of 18. And, this is hypersexualized messaging. I'm not really sure why it's being put out. And certainly some questions, I think, to be answered about this organization, what it's up to, and whether all this is legal or not.